everyone. I'm Anitha. I'm assistant professor of MBA department, K.B.N college. So we're going to discuss about managerial communication and what is the intro of the managerial communication and what is the director process of the communication and as well as and what is different types of the communication and along with the small case study. And this is of introduction. First, we have to know what is the communication history from how the people they communicate the sharing information in the ancient days before 1 lakh BCE, and they have to be developed the communication through the visual communication. The mostly they have to communicate with the paintings, canvas paintings they are used, and that is all about it will be developed in the Mughalais. That is also they use different types of the communication to send a message through the birds. They're hanging one message to their legs and they have to be fly to somewhere and they reach the message to they have to know information and gathering through the between. So that is we don't have that time in the post offices and all. And this is a history. It's a happening on the communications. How can we develop day by day up to this 21st century? And we have here we can see the picture here. It's about the communication and how it can be implemented in the organizations, like informations and how can we convey the message, and that is based on the senders and what is the different discussions happen between the two or more people based on the dialogues, postures, gestures, and based on the multilingual languages we are used to communicate, and what is different types of the communications also we are used to share the information one to other persons. So the word the communication has been derived from the Latin word the communicare, which means to import or participate or translate the word. It's derived from the root of communis, which means to take a common or something to share to the other persons. So this is all about the process. A mainly thing is sharing or exchanging ideas and feelings, information, we are experience between two or more persons. Coming to the next slide, it indicates definition of the communication. And previously I told you about the history, and it's more than 1 lakh BCE, and that is later developed. And we can hear there are the number of definitions for the communication, and the few of them I can explain here. According to K. Davis, defines a communication as a communication is the transfer of information and understanding from one person to another person. Communication is exchange of facts, ideas, opinions by the two or more persons, given by the George Terry. And another one we have see here, Peter Little defines communication is a process by which information is transmitted between individuals or organizations so that can understand response the results. See, the common thing about the different authors, they are explained the common meaning in a different way. The communication is always we are transforming information and understanding what they have to get the perception from one person to another. So this is all about we are sharing ideas, beliefs from one to another person in a sharing process. And moving on to the next slide, we have see here what are the different directions of the communication. And before I want to share you why it is we are very important in the managerial communication subject. So what is the meaning of managerial communication is it's a help the employees and managers, they have to be each other in the organization. It is also useful, they have to be discussed about the common goals. So as a manager, they are always giving ready to instructions about the work job descriptions to the lower level people or else the co-employees in the organization. So example, the manager is always give instructions about how can I complete these tasks within the 1 week or 1 month. The next, coming to the directions of the communication, we can see this picture very clear about the blue indicates the downward communication and the green arrow that indicates the upward communication, and the yellow is represent the horizontal communication and the red one that represent the diagonal communication. So why these are all the important the communication, especially in the organizations, or that is common thing the downward communication. So downward, coming to the downward communication is always the represent, it's all about the how can we as a manager or hierarchy levels of the organizations, how they are represent to give any instructions, any job descriptions, and how to do the work. It's like rules and regulations they are sharing to the lower level people of the organization as well as in the same department also. This is about the downward communication, that is they have to always about the suggestions and the feedback to the needed people in the employees. And the next, coming to the upward communication, is a flow of information. So that is they are represent to give information regarding their work, how much they are complete the task given by the managers, or else anything related to the project work. So that is they have to be take any feedback from the managers directly, they will go through to the hierarchy. So this is meaning is the information between low level to the high level employees. The next one is a horizontal communication. This is all about how it will be impacted. So that is exchange between the employee to employee, peer to colleagues. They have to share their ideas, views, and they are getting a helping from one to another to complete the common task. For example, the team is working for the any simple project, so that is only 1 month or 2 months, that so that is also they have a lack of knowledge on it, how to complete within the 1 month, and they have to how can they implement the strategies in the everybody team. They have a process to they are sharing information one to another. So in the basis of that, they have to be always giving important to the report all the needed they are sharing between the employee to employee or peer to colleague. So this is all about the horizontal communication. The next, coming to the diagonal communication. So it's a very important. We already discussed about the downward, upward, and horizontal. So this is diagonal communication represents the information flows and between they have to be interact with the different types of the departments from upper to the lower level. For example, the finance manager, he wants to be know what happening in the project work. It should be increases or decreases, anything happens, they want to be any added in the strategies, any implementations of the financial strategies also they are discussing how can we implement these strategies, it will be useful for the project, and they have to be expensive or not, any or else any product manager, they want to discuss about the new launching of the product, and he is also going to meet the finance manager regarding this is the process of the new product development. We need to be investment money for the particular regarding these all the process of product. So this is the communication between the diagonal level from one person to the another person of the level of organizations. And moving on to the types of communication. Now we are going to discuss the different types of the communication. We can see the picture represents here. The first one is formal communication, the second one informal communication, and interpersonal communication and non-verbal communication. So we have here, we can see the sub dimensions of the communication we have. First one is a formal communication. So this is all about horizontal communication and vertical communication and diagonal communication. The next, coming to the interpersonal communication. Here we can see the oral communication and written communication. So this is two all about, we can discuss different types of the communication. Let's see. And this is also divided between the based on that directions, formalities, and media and time. The coming the first one based on the direction, this is represent the formal communication. So this is we can see already we discussed about what are the different types of the directs of the communication is also called as formal communication. What we have discussed, that is downward, upward, horizontal, and diagonal communication. So this is all about the including downward communication is how can we as a manager include, they are giving the instructions, policies, rules and regulations. They are always conducting the performance feedback of employees, and that is a regular base or weekly or monthly or 6 months or 1 year. Definitely they will tell about their job performance feedback, and job assignments also it will be changed after completion of the projects. The next one, upward communication, is also, this is about, for example, I am working here and I have to be a report to my hierarchy about my what I have done every month or weekly reports, like the progress reports of my work. And also this is a feedback I collected from the people, and can you tell me any the suggestions to be new strategies to be added, and what is the grievances different happens in the workplaces. The next one, horizontal communication, is already that is, we have to be collaborate work with the one to another employee in the same departments, and the collaboration or information sharing regarding to complete the task in a manner. So next one is a diagonal communication. This is a communication between the managers and an employee from another department's cross-functional team meetings. I gave you the previously the example is the product manager. He has a minimum discussion with the about the new product development, discuss about the financial manager regarding how much expenses we needed to be product development. So the next one, coming to the based on the mode, we have here, see, the verbal communication, non-verbal communication, written communication, and visual communication. These are all the represents. We can see here in the picture, it represents how it will be happen the communication between two or more people. Coming, the first one is verbal communication, and this is involves mostly the spoken, the words. Example, that is, we are taking a class about the communication. I'm using different types of the spoken words, the explanation of this class. So this is also one of the example. And the the second one is the manager or an employee, entire the organization, everybody, they want to tell something regarding the formal way or informal way. We are using different types of the words to convey the message to the other people. The next, coming to the non-verbal communication, that involves the based on the body language and what is different types of the gestures we are using, especially on the based on the facial expressions and tone of voice. These are all very important in the non-verbal communication. Why? Because it's not in an organization also, in the normal way also we can use a non-verbal communication. For example, we have to be call the people, it's they are standing in the far away from our place to the other place, but we are unable to call them with the spoken words. So that's why we can use the different types of the postures and gestures. Example, can you here see in the pictures, I represent these body postures, and this is also the manager or a team member. They are presenting something about their task, and they are also using different types of the to motivate the people who are presented in the meetings. There is also to be it's like a thumb, that is okay or not okay. So these are all the expressions we are using based on the gestures and the postures and the facial expressions, and the voice should be under the non-verbal communication. The next one, coming to the written communication, this is all about involves written words. Example, in a personal life or professional life, when we are studying or started from the LKG to our total education, it should be added that is a represent on the paper. And that is also, you have to be, especially in the organization, they have to use the different types of the communication through the technologies. And very very important, why? Because it is a recorded, because it's a it's not a temporary, it's a permanent. They have to be recorded about everything what we have writing about the strategies, the process and policies, rules and regulations, what we have to be join as an intern. Also we have to need fill applications. So this is all about important of the written communication. The next one is visual communication. This is all about the visual aids and the represents, that is example of our class. I am showing the different types of the pictures. I am also taking the help of pictures. This is the happening of the communication, and we can use different types of the modules. This is all about the visual communication. For example, as a team leader, he has to give about the represent in front of the manager. He using different types of the graphs or charts about their work, how much they are completed, or 40 days or 60 days of the work. This is all about the based on the mode of types of communication. The next one, coming to the based on the formality. So this is about, we have a two here, that is a formal communication and informal communication. See, we can see the picture, it represents the group of people is a gathering in the office or organization. They are discussing about their work and task, what they have to be implement or else previous work. And coming to the second one, that is the informal communication. That is represent the social gatherings in the cafe of the organization or else out of the organizations. So this is formal communication follows the officially the command and the organizational structures, example office memos or any organizational reports, any policies to implement we are discussing here. The information communication is different types of the channels is spontaneously we will discuss, and gathering is also in a way in the casual conversations we have, and the social interactions about an informal emails regarding we want to send any happy birthday messages or anything else related to their work also. The informal conversations happen between one employee to employee, and that is based on the relationship between the manager and employee also. We have a informal communication we used, that is called instant messaging. We are sending immediately to the other persons. The next coming to the based on the medium and represent, we can see in the picture the first person is the face-to-face communication, and the second one is the telephone communication, and the third one is digital communication, and fourth one is the written communication. The coming to the face-to-face communication, we can observe they have a direct interaction between the two people, and that is also very positive way. They are maintaining their eye contact and they have a smiley faces greeting each other in a formal way, and this is called as the face-to-face communication. And immediately we are getting a feedback. There is no any negative cues happens in the face-to-face communication. This represent we have to be greeting each other, and we have to ask the work in a face-to-face, and informal discussions happening, meetings, and conducting the interviews in a formal way. And the next one, telephonic communication. So this is about the over the phone. You can see the picture. The person is calling to other person is very happily. They are sharing something about the information. That is a formal in the organizations or else any something there in personal life also. We can see the examples here, the phone calls and teleconferences. That is nowadays the technology is developed, right? So we are using different types of the technologies. So teleconference is also one of the conduct of types of the interview conducts, and the sharing info through the telephone communication through Viva voice. And the next one coming to the digital communication. So we are in the 21st century, the artificial intelligence is now the booming, and we are also involving different types of the technologies to communicate with the people. Especially we know very well about the after corona. In the corona time, it will be developed. Digital communication is now we are using Aura. So that is examples we can see, send emails in a formal or informal, that is instant messaging also, and video conferencing and social media. For example, I have to take a class to the online. Tomorrow we have a 4 o'clock class. So I am using a technology. I'll send a team link. We are using a Google Teams or a Zoom meeting. Very well, you know that. The next coming to the written communication, already earlier I discussed about that. It is a recorded, both printed and digital written forms. We are maintaining the proof of written communication about the formal way or informal way. The examples, we are sending a different types of the letters and the reports and the memos and the newsletters. Here we can see the newsletters is represents. For example, today is we are going, something else is happening in the organizations, and what is the upcoming events they are doing in the organizations, or any project launching, or any business development, any managerial competence is happening. So that is represent the newsletters using a digital media. They are providing the communication, that is called a one-way communication. And this is all about the types of communication. And the next coming to the little bit I have discussed about why the managerial communication is very important. I took the example of the case study. You can see here the mid-sized company. I take the X example of the company, the face declining productivity and employee dissatisfaction. The manager noticed that unclear instructions and a lack of feedback. We can see the underline here, the unclear instructions and lack of feedback were causing confusion and errors. So this is represent, you can identify, already we discussed different types of the communication. You can see the unclear instructions and lack of feedback were causing confusion and errors. So she is implemented regular team meetings and the clear written guidelines and open door policies for the feedback. That is results the team members understood their roles, a better understanding. Later they have to improve their communication is improved and increasingly significant within the months. Before, what happened, the companies faced declined productivity and employee dissatisfaction. Because of that, the flow of exchanging information based on the hierarchy or as the employee to employee, they have a miscommunication happens. that is impact on declining productivity. That is why the managerial communication that represents if we have a clear guidelines on how to do the project and how can we do open delivery policies, and we have to call them. You can tell about the feedback face to face or else that is a written form. So that is ensures that the instructions reducing misunderstandings of the errors and facilitates timely feedback and the problem solving skills. It will be improved, and they are also come and give the feedback regarding about the futures. And the enhanced employee motivation and engagement through the open dialogues supports the coordination among the different already we discussed about the direct of the communications. That is how can we alignment with the organizational goals, how all the departments are involved. So this is about the effective managerial communication directly impact on team performance and organizational success. So this is all about today's what is the communication history and what is different types of definitions we have to seen in the communication happen. Different authors given the beautiful definitions here, and the next one direct of the communication along with the types of communication we discussed, and the later the final why the important of managerial communication is to know one to each other to complete their common goals. So today's this is class all about the managerial communication introduction, and thank you all for today's session. I hope you are understand very well. Thank you. Have a good day.